Welcome to another episode of Coffee with the County. Today I am visiting with Chris Johnson, recreation specialist for Aiken County. Chris, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me in here today. This is awesome. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm excited about this conversation because you're one of the shining stars in Aiken County that probably nobody knows about, or a lot of people don't know what Chris Johnson, or recreational specialist, does, but it's a huge job in our county, and it's a very important job, and I'm glad to have you here.
Awesome. Well, yeah, appreciate it once again, and so, and that's the thing. Yeah, people don't realize they have all these trails, but who takes care of them? Who puts the money in for it? So
that's right. Who's taking care of them out there when they're out enjoying the recreation? And all of our listeners out there that are enjoying the trails and things like that. Stop by and thank Chris at one point, because he's probably fixed something for you. He's cleaned something up for you. He's done wonderful things out there. But start with you, Chris. Tell me, how long have you been at the county? Are you Aiken County born and bred? Give me a little history.
Actually, born and raised over in Tamarack, which is on the east side. We're about a quarter mile away from Carleton County, of all things. So pretty close. We're almost not in there. Born and raised here. Moved away to Colorado for a number of years for firefighting and stuff like that. But it's just one of the things. Got drawn back to home. You live out in beautiful mountains, but this place calls you back. It's very interesting. The community's great and everything else like that. So born and raised here with that. Been with the county now for 11 years. Started as a forest tech. And then back when Mark Jacobs, our land commissioners ago, he said, hey, you'd be a pretty good candidate for the recreation job. You should probably take a stab at it. So, and got in and said, the canvas is yours. Paint recreation to be what it is for Aiken County and make it great. And it's like, wow, okay, this is a daunting task, but let's see what we can do with it. They set kind of the walls up of what we have. Built started with the 70-mile trail, which was the original ATV trail honestly, probably one of the first in the state. If I'm not mistaken, it was the first bonding money of the state. And then from there we've grown to, we'll get into that, but over 500 miles within the adjoining counties, 200 plus within Aiken County alone. So
that's amazing. And I do want to talk about the Northwoods Trail and the upcoming season. We're excited to see that we were just talking before we started recording on how cool it is outside right now to see the greening up and spring. I think we're finally getting to it.
Yep, and the people are knocking down the doors. I tell you what, we get probably 20, 30 calls a day over there at the office. Is the trails open? Are the trails open? No, May 15th. It's like, but we did actually open up Axtell technical riding area. So both our Sioux lines and the Axtell technical riding area are open up. So at least it opens up the door for people to kind of get their feet wet with the trail systems right now. So
if you haven't checked out Axtell, I know DJ gets so excited when I call it Valley Fair of the North or whatever. If you're an ATV rider, get out there and check that out. It's got so much to, the hills and the jumps and the trails and the things like that can be done, and it's a beautiful facility. Yeah, hidden out there right outside of McGregor off the Sioux line. Stop and check that thing out. It's awesome.
I like that terminology. Probably people aren't so keen on it, but it is. It's so unique and it's ever evolving. It's a sandpit. So the people, they see what they want, they make what they want out there, more or less. We did add a feature this year just about a month ago, which is, I would call it the Super Bowl, and I might just nickname it. We might just call it that from there. But it's like we took out 200 yards of sand, and so it's a big bowl. The people that have been sneaking around in there, it's a hit. Nice. So we'll see how this weekend goes. I think it's going to be kind of one of the things that'd be fun to go out there and monitor and see what's going on. So hopefully the listeners and adjoining people that are with or affiliated get out there and check some of them trails out, support the local businesses. That's what we're looking for. So appreciate your writing.
And you mentioned May 15th as an opening for the Our Trail system.
Yep.
That's a state statute?
It is, yeah.
So it's not You don't have to call the land department and say, "Can you open a week early?" We unfortunately can't do that, even if it's ready or not ready, and that's probably for the protection of the land, I would assume, and all of that, and the trail. And
it surely is, because that's what we're looking out for. And typically, we're running on a pretty average year right now. I mean, we're a little dry out there, so the clubs kind of need from this week for the next month to try and maintain the trails, fix some of the areas that are less desirable, or they need maintenance in general. Water holes, trees all over the trails. It just gives them a little bit of a window to open up the trails, let everything settle out if they're putting any kind of material down, gravel or anything like that on the trails. Kind of settle in before all chaos begins. They're seeing 100 to 500 wheelers on a trail in a day type of deal. So it works out that way. Also, with the green up wildlife, there's kind of a mosaic of aspects that they're looking at with all that kind of stuff. So of criteria.
I think it's amazing. We always talk about recreation, and that's Aiken County's story, right?
Yep.
Our story is our recreation, our natural resources. People want to come here and see it, visit it, spend time in it. And there's people like yourself making sure that it's right, making sure that we're protecting the natural resources. Mm-hmm. So it's really a unique balance that we're talking about responsible growth and tourism as a tool to bring more business into our businesses and our residents.
Right.
But we're also very, very keen on taking care of the natural resources and making sure that they stay pristine. And, I know you don't do lakes, but the lakes stay clean, and, the trails stay clean. You're talking 500 wheelers. I know that you've got counts on annual trail counts and things like that. Yeah. How many riders do you think come through Aiken County Northwoods ATV trail in a year?
Yeah, and that's when we started that, with the Northwoods. Really, when the program, this was always one commissioner ago, before our current one, Rich and I, Rich Quartermouch, we had this idea of, I always want to know, I still do, I'm always looking for what's the pulse. When I started developing this idea of what am I going to be in the recreation specialist position? How do I know? What do I have for A, resources, and B, what are the people wanting to use this thing? And so we started with, in 2018, looking at the ATV side of things and using counters. Well, we started with geofence, which is, comes out, if it's a satellite-based program that sets up kind of a parameter and pings off of your location services on your phone, didn't work very good. We switched to the seismic counters, and that's where now we've got that baseline that started back in 2019 of 33,000 hits, I think is what we had, and we're like, whoa, this is incredible. And as of the end of 2024 season, we had 126,000, hits on these counters, and there's 13 different locations strategically placed at some of the intersections where it's not a loop back type of situation. Mm-hmm. So it's really kind of a 1-for-1. It's not like you're getting a double hit on these counts. So, I mean, if you really wanted to be, put it as a super conservative number, I'd say still 100,000. Maybe 110,000 hits.
Amazing.
So there's 110,000 people or wheelers on our trail, ATVs, OHVs on our trail system. That's incredible, So and
again, it's more. It is as incredible that you guys keep those trails so pristine, so nice, so naturally, better.
Yeah, there it is. Yes. I got to plug that in there, absolutely.
But your mindset of keeping everything, to that natural resource, pristine natural resources.
Yeah.
While we have that kind of visitation, that's amazing to do.
Yeah, and like you say, you're spot on. I mean, in the form of it, that's what we're always looking for, as a land department. And have you had DJ in yet? Maybe. Have you?
Yeah,
oh,
DJ
okay.
has visited with us.
Oh, no kidding. I should. I'll have to tease him about that. I'll have to look back at that one. But Yeah, that's always our goal. You're trying to optimize really the experience, and then but also providing for number one is going to be the land. That's kind of our goal. So is keeping it ecologically sound, and making sure the soil, everything from the ground up, literally the soil, what's going on in the soils all the way up to the, I don't know what you'd say, not the performance, but the health of the trees, or whatever you're trying to do, wildlife gardens, that kind of stuff.
And since we're getting close to open season for ATV riders, it's the Northwoods Trail System.
Yep, Northwoods Regional.
Regional Trail System.
Do we want to start with back at the history, or just overall? We'll just do an overall.
Yeah, give me an overall of what it looks like.
It really embodies everything. It gives you a real good aspect of what Aiken County has to offer. You're riding from anywhere from seeing some of the lower wetland areas all the way into coniferous forests, the Hill City Hills. Over. You wouldn't think. Everybody's like, Aiken County's got a lot of swamp. It's like, oh man, you are wrong. Yeah. It's the hills. So you get a little bit of everything. So you get some flat riding, the easy riding, and then it gets more, there's some more technical stuff, like our Red Top ATV trails down in the southern part of Aiken County. We have a couple different technical riding areas within that trail system itself, where you can, it's like 2 miles of rock crawling, mud snorkel type of situations. We've built them into these trail systems where they're actually not harming the environment, because they're isolated spots like this. There's no hydrology coming out of it. There's no pollution that's happening out of these spots. So you have that. You move north farther. You go from that deciduous in the south, and then you start heading more up to the northeast, and you start getting into the balsam evergreen type of forests, and then you have some aspen stands. In the fall time, that's really beautiful. You get the yellows and the maples in there with the pinks and the oranges. So it's just really kind of a real neat dynamic. We have over 220 miles of trail within Aiken County, which is all interconnected with all adjoining counties. We're surrounded by counties that are interconnected with our ATV trail systems to their ATV trail systems. So in all, the Northwoods has grown as it's become the North. There's been the ATV clubs that manage these trail systems has built what is the Northwoods ATV Trail Alliance. That has exploded. We went from a 6-club alliance to now we're over 11, and we're working on more. And within that, this alliance has now made the Northwoods Regional ATV Trail System, because they use our branding on that. We're over 500 miles with that branding of the Northwoods ATV Trail System, which is connecting us all the way to Brainerd, basically. All the way, you can ride from Brainerd over to Michigan if you want.
All interconnected.
Yeah. All the way. All legal riding, all from the seat of your OHV, And actually, we're OHM certified, or not certified, but you're allowed to ride your OHVs or OHMs, which is an off-highway motorcycle. So dirt bikes, enduro bikes, as long as they're registered, you're good to go. So, yeah, we kind of allow that. The only thing we don't is Jeeps. We're not there yet, even though the new machines are literally the same weight, probably.
We'll worry about those
when it comes someday. Yeah.
So it's amazing to talk about. It started here in Aiken, right? The Northwoods ATV Trail in Aiken County. I should not say Aiken. I want to make sure everybody knows this is an entire county-wide trail system that hits everywhere. Yeah. And now others are wanting to get involved together, power in numbers, right?
Absolutely.
And it's gone from the 200 and some miles that we have in Aiken County alone to, you mentioned, over 500 miles.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and you want a weekend trip, you got it. Just come up and camp in the campgrounds from Aiken County. travel all over and see everything that's out there. I think it's amazing what we have to offer.
And that's, like you say, right there. But, I mean, that's the reality of it. We've always been, where you could probably hit 1 or 2 trails, probably a trail per day, realistically, and you're going to be pretty tired by the time you're done. You're ready for a burger and a chill out session at the end of the day type of deal. Now, I think it'd take you at least a month or better to see all of the trail systems. It might take you a whole summer, realistically. I mean, you could start, Malacca, and then away you go. Head north, and then you don't have to leave your wheeler. And they're working on a connection to get us up from Rapids up into, the northeast country up in that country. Yeah. So good luck. We'll see you in a couple months, I come back with a giant beard. And Mark, where you been?
Off the grid on the ATV. So are you guys done with the ATV trail building, or I'm trying to set you up for a little news that might happen? No,
we're always working. We have 2. Just recently we're working on one, but that's really, I don't know how much we're going to dive into that. But we're always looking for opportunities to create more community connections. Especially the city of Aiken is kind of excluded on that. But what we're working on right now, and we've been working on since 2018, is trying to get our east side of Mille Lacs connected into the ATV trail system for diversifying the resorts and really the locals, non-locals, everybody on that east side of Mille Lacs Lake. Trying, Dale Lewick brought that in front of the house down there and got a bill passed or some bonding money passed for us. So we've been working through the steps, and that's the biggest thing is getting that through. But it's 26 miles, I believe, right now that we're working on, and it's basically connecting Malmo over to what would be Solana, is what we call it. The Solana. It used to be the oldest town of Solana, I guess. So we're looking at, it's a big cut across, bunch of county ground. Really, when we get this thing done, it's going to be a fantastic trail. So we're just working through the process. There's quite a bit of tape that we got to go through. The EAWs, which is the Environmental Assessment Worksheet, so that's looking at wetland impacts, wildlife impacts, vegetation, everything. It's a pretty comprehensive system that you gotta work through, and so that's all being taken care of right now, and we're hoping to have that trail completed by next year, or a good section of it completed by next year. Nice. Fingers crossed. Hopefully everybody's out there supporting it. So
all the right weather and
we're on the right course for it right now. So that one's happening. We just recently were asked about the possibility of trying to do a connection with Cuyuna over there to kind of get Crosby tied in. And it's really, we were looking at the maps last week actually, and it's like, wow, it's there. All we got to do is just kind of work through the process, and it's all there. And so I got butterflies. I got goosebumps thinking about this one too. So and they got good support over there. Obviously, we see it. So that's awesome. We're very hopeful. First thing is, like I say, the Malmo over to Solana connection, and then we'll be looking at other sections.
I know that Mille Lacs area trail has been a process.
Sure has.
And again, all of those things that you talked about is the responsible thing that we need to do for the land. Make sure that we have all this.
Absolutely.
But sometimes government-y gets government-y, and you mentioned tape. I'll call it red tape. There's been a lot of that in there too. And fortunately, you guys are great at working through that and making it happen. Sometimes it takes longer than it's supposed to because of those roadblocks.
Absolutely.
In there, but you guys are always finding ways to get it done. Mm-hmm. And it's impressive to see. You can't just take a bulldozer out there and clear out 29 miles of ATV trail. You've got to do it the right way. Yeah. And sometimes that takes longer than what you want.
Absolutely.
I know you want to do it tomorrow, and it'll be, next year it'll be there. But over time, look at the amount of miles that you're adding to that trail, and the amount of great riding that you can expect here in Aiken County in years to come. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for the efforts. Appreciate it. And
thanks for the support. We appreciate everything that you guys are doing, and really what the community does, and to actually be behind these things. They see. I think people are starting to grasp, we're not necessarily losing our winters. This is kind of, I've as a recreation specialist, you're kind of looking at the past. Recently I was looking at snowfall numbers, precipitation numbers throughout the years, and we are it's kind of interesting to watch the ebb and flows of the winters. We're in that lull, right now, and so we'll see how that plays out in the future. But the one constant that we have is ATV recreation. We know summer's coming. It may be wetter than others. It may be drier than others, but it's there. It's always going to be kind of a constant, and that's good for, people that are trying to build business plans and build businesses that maybe can tailor to ATV recreation or tourism in general, and it just helps, And snowmobile trails are great. When we have them, man, oh man. We have 660 miles of trails alone in Aiken County. That's incredible. It blew me away the first time I heard that number. It's oh my goodness, So really, we have a lot of resources at our availability, and I hope that people get to see that. 4 campgrounds that are attached, or 3 that are directly attached to ATV trails, snowmobile trails. Actually, all 4 of them are attached by snowmobile, but we haven't done that yet, and I'd like to actually kind of get a gauge on what people feel if winter camping, is that a thing? I don't know. I hear of it in some places, up the North Shore, they're all about the yurt camping and stuff like that. That's really neat, and that's kind of a contemporary idea, and I don't know. That's something to look at, but
always things on your mind.
Absolutely. The recreation's a wild, ever morphing thing, Last time they did a master plan was in 2014, and the U of M came out with that. We're 10 years in, 11 years in. How that has changed. You look at the machines of ATV side of things, how they've changed. Snowmobiles. Skiing, that seems to be picking up a little bit more. Everything really, actually, after COVID, everybody wants to be outside, it seems like, and which is great. I love it. I'm glad.
That's amazing. And there isn't a better place than to do it right here in Aiken County. And, again, compliments to you, your team, everybody that's working on it, because it does create that. It's enjoyment, right? Everybody wants to be outside. You're taking care of the land, most importantly. But make no mistake, there's business that comes from using tourism as a tool. Tourism isn't our only thing that we have in Aiken County, but people coming up riding the trails are spending money in our local establishments, spending money in our hotels and our lodging and our things like that. And we ought to be aware of that. And we have to use that to our advantage as it goes, and help our local businesses, I think, is exactly the message, while you take care of all the land and everything else that we're doing.
Absolutely.
You guys amaze me. When I first came to the county, I got together with Lan and just learning all of the different things, and it truly amazes me how much you guys do. That's probably, and unfortunately sometimes behind the scenes, right? Nobody knows who's doing that kind of stuff out there in the public, and I just want to make sure that they recognize you and thank you for what you're doing for Aiken County.
Well, and that's, we appreciate that. And the other thing is, if you guys are listening to this, is thank the clubs. There's 6 ATV clubs that take care of the trail systems with us. We manage, we oversee, we're kind of the umbrella of it, and then the clubs are the boots on the ground type of people. And so 6 ATV clubs, 5 snowmobile clubs, and so they're encompassing, and they're taking care of over 1,000 miles of recreational trail just in two categories. We still have snowmobile cross-country skiing, hunter walking trails, which that's all of us, or that's all Aiken County. But we have so much going on. We'll have to do a phenology / update of the fall and what's coming up or something like that.
I think that'd be incredible. To have you come in on a regular basis. Tell us about our parks. Tell us about our walking
What's
trail.
going on?
Anytime you want to stop by, let me know. We can throw up a recording and any information that comes up. If something happens on a trail that you want people to know about, like this one's open or this one's ready and that kind of thing, let me know and we'll get it out there. But
yeah, for sure. So absolutely. And that's, just kind of a comeback to that is just join clubs, join these ATV clubs, join these snowmobile clubs if you're passionate about it. Or if you're interested in like the cross country ski, we don't currently have a cross country ski club to help kind of manage stuff. So if anybody's got any ideas on that, that'd be great. Otherwise the county's going to continue to manage them and do that. I mean, it's a small army out there doing a lot of work and a lot of dedicated people. I tell you what, the passion that's out there that we have, the community, from the people coming up from the cities to their cabins that are helping out to just the locals too, I mean, there's just everybody sees it, so it's great. I love. It's a fun job. It really is. So.
Well, Chris, it's awesome that you mentioned that word passion because you can truly hear it and see it. In talking to you on what you do, and truly appreciate that. Chris Johnson, recreation specialist for Aiken County. You want to know where trails are, go on the website and you can go to the land section of the Aiken County website, has all of those listed there. If there's another way that you want to get there, check out the naturallybetterhere.com. They're all listed on there as well. And thank you for coming in. We'll see you again very soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you much.
You bet. You're listening to Coffee with the County.